Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Revisiting Disney World. This is the series in which I go around Disney World here on MC Magic, the one-to-one scale recreation of Disney World, and I pick out an attraction or a pavilion or an area of the parks, and I play a fun little game of What If, where I go around and sort of give you my ideas as to what we could do to sort of refurbish or breathe new life into an attraction. It's not based at all on rumors or facts or announcements by Disney. It's just me purely, wondering and playing a fun game. Today we're going to actually be looking at an easier attraction to sort of revisit because it's not functional right now, and that is the Wonders of Life Pavilion here at Epcot in Future World. Now, if you're not familiar with it, the Wonders of Life Pavilion was a pavilion that opened in 1989 and ended up closing permanently in 2007. So it's been quite a while since there's been anything really going on here, and like the land, it was a pavilion that had multiple attractions and venues and things to do in it. It wasn't just like one singular experience, sort of like its neighbor here, the Universe of Energy. And those things involved like a show called Cranium Command. It involved a ride called Body Wars, which is very much like Star Tours, and a bunch of other health-related things that I will go into further into detail in an episode of Minecraft Disney World at some point in the future. But now it's just sort of this closed-down building. For a while, it was temporarily used for like the Food and Wine Festival or the Flower and Garden, but it doesn't really get used at all anymore. So it's just sort of sitting here, and it's a real shame because not only was the building really interesting, but the premise of the building was extremely interesting, and I feel like there's still room for that in Epcot and in Future World. Because at its core, this building was about health, and it was about our bodies, and it was just one element of the human experience that you were supposed to learn about when you go to Epcot. However, with Future World being, well, by the name, future-based, I think now, more than ever, is the best time to really put an emphasis on health and technology. We live in a world today where technology does amazing things for our health. Of course, it does bad things too, depending on what you're doing, but it could also do amazing things. And I think this would be a great pavilion to showcase that. For instance, you could get sponsors such as Nike or Fitbit or all of these health websites that are around, WebMD. Like, the internet and technology has sort of opened the gates to better our health. Personally speaking, when I was getting into running for the first time, it was an app that helped me do it. And it was an app that taught me how to pace out my running so that I wasn't overdoing it or, putting myself at risk. Beyond just using it to better your health, there's so much technology in sort of helping people who are suffering from problems. We live in a world today where people are 3D printing prosthetic limbs, and for a fraction of the cost of what it used to be back when you had to get them special made. These are all like incredible advances in medicine and technology, and this would be a great place to put it. So what would I put in there? I would keep it as a building. I think the experience is better if you keep it sort of not singular like the Universe of Energy, but perhaps keep it to 1 to 2 things. I mean, the old Wonders of Life Pavilion had quite a lot. Cranium Command, Body Wars, Frontiers of Medicine, Goofy About Health, The Making of Me, Wonder Cycles. It had all these little things in here, but I think if you focused on 2 or 3 things, one on how health is enhanced through technology, or one on how health is repaired through technology or sort of fixed with technology, and maybe something on, a cautionary tale against how technology could harm your health, and how to avoid that and deal with that and work with that. I don't have any like super specific ride ideas. I mean, Body Wars, like I said, was like Star Tours, and the way the building's set up, you'd kind of need something like that because you can't really put a big ride infrastructure in that building. That building's kind of small and set up. Even Cranium Command was a show, so it didn't really require a whole lot of extra space. I think, you know what? I try to always think of something new, but I think that would be a great pavilion to just sort of reboot Body Wars. Do a new, modern Body Wars. You sort of have that Star Tours experience. You've got ILM under the company belt, so you could really get an amazing visual just experience there. And you could do a similar premise of, you know, being shrunken down and put into the body, and it could teach people maybe not only how the body works on its own, but, you know, on that scale, you could also take a look at how technology can help the body with pacemakers and artificial organs and just all this amazing stuff that is done now to sort of keep people alive longer. It would be quite interesting to sort of experience that in a Star Tours-like setting. And I think it's very different than like bringing back something like Horizons, where something replaced Horizons, and that was Mission Space. And so to go back to Horizons feels like a step back, but nothing replaced Body Wars. It just closed down and then was gone. And I think maybe bringing it back as like a Body Wars 2.0 before, you know, eventually down the line putting in something original would be a cool idea. Likewise, you could take Cranium Command and put some sort of new show. Not a Cranium Command 2.0 necessarily, but some sort of show that, I guess that would be the one that sort of would teach you about how, you know, it's helping people become healthier. You know, if you take the Body Wars 2.0 and you do the focus on the restorative health, where you have the pacemakers and the artificial heart and maybe limbs and things like that, well, then you do the show and you have it focus on people who are already healthy or who have the capability of being completely healthy, but just need the motivation or the sort of guidance that technology can bring today, whether it's through apps or things like the Fitbit wrist watch thing that they have, or just like the sensors that Nike has in their sneakers, so you could go running and it'll track all your running, and just things like that. And of course, I think similar in a vein of Cranium Command, which used a lot of popular comedians and entertainment folk at the time to sort of make it a humorous story. I think you could do the same thing here. Maybe get some new SNL people like the Lonely Island folk or Tina Fey, like just comedians like that, comedians of this generation. And sure, maybe it'll date it a little bit, you know, 10 years from now if half these people fall into obscurity. But when it's a show, I think it's a lot cheaper to sort of update and swap out. And you can put the show together on, you know, making somebody's, I mean, I'm just like, now I'm stuck in the idea, Tina Fey would be perfect because she's hilarious. If you've ever watched 30 Rock, she's great. And, you know, Cranium Command, if you've ever seen it, is the story of being inside the head of this teenage boy as he goes through a day of school. And it just sort of shows how all the parts of the body work together. If you did something similar where it just followed the life of Tina Fey, which would be probably hilarious in its own, and then, you know, put an emphasis on her trying to use technology to make her life healthier and better, I think you could get a really fun and entertaining experience out of that. And then maybe you have some sort of like innovations type presentation down there on the show floor, similar to the way the Wonder Cycles were just sort of out there for you to play around with when you were waiting in line or wandering around. You could have something like that that shows off how technology could be used today, not far future, not theoretical, but actual technology that's in the works, that's either, you know, a prototype or is already out there on the market, whether it's some new type of treadmill or, you know, a new type of program or app or something that people would be able to look at and play with and realize that within their lifetime, and not only within their lifetime, but within the near future, they'll be able to use this stuff. And on the other side of things, this is where companies can go to prototype that sort of stuff. I mean, talk about having a good group of beta testers. You would have so many people going in and out every single day. Imagine demoing your app there for a couple of months before you release it. All that feedback you would get, it'd be very mutually beneficial for both the people learning about these apps and the people making the apps. And I think overall it would just do a great job at promoting this this idea of taking technology and using it not to become sort of lazy bums sitting in front of a computer all the time, as much as we all do that, and I've done it myself. I'm super guilty of it. But also using that technology to better our lives and make us healthy. Anyway, I want to know what you have to think. Do you think that we should do that with the Wonders of Life? Maybe you think we should change up the rides on the inside, or maybe you think we should just demolish the whole building and put something else there. I would love to hear your feedback. Leave it in the comments below. It's really fun playing a game of what if and having everybody sort of share their own ideas and everybody getting to be Imagineer for a day. If you want to follow me on the social networks, I'm at Rob Plays on Twitter, and I'm Rob Plays That Game on Instagram and Facebook. I apologize for not actually being in the Wonders of Life Pavilion, but like I mentioned, it's been sort of just shut down and empty, so even in Minecraft, they don't really have a recreation of it yet, because there's really no purpose, because their goal is to sort of recreate the Disney that we see today. But I figured a good view of Epcot would work. Anyway, whatever you're doing this week, I hope you make the most of it, because it makes it so much better. And I hope to see you all next time for the next episode of Revisiting Disney. Bye, everybody.